Okay, class. So, for those of you who are in the learning support section, 099, that's paired with this class, you'll see that we have some grammar and punctuation information sprinkled in the course, in the content. And you really need to look closely at this. I mean, if you're having trouble, with grammar and punctuation, the best way to overcome it is by reading first, doing a lot of reading and looking at how sentences are formed, how punctuation is placed, and that is probably the easiest way to see, to identify where you might have some issues and with grammar and punctuation. But this information I kind of put first, subject identification. I know it may seem, maybe it seems basic or boring. I understand this, but if you can, first and foremost, you've got to be able to identify a subject because that kind of tells you where the rest of uh, everything else goes in your sentence, where the commas go. I mean, it kind of relates to everything. And sometimes students struggle with this, and because it's like you're being asked to diagram, a sentence and figure out what's what and all that stuff. But anyways, so this is a little lecture on subjects. Subjects usually, you'll see number one there, subjects usually come before verbs. And that's kind of a big deal because if they don't come right before a verb, generally you've got some words between the subject and the verb. Generally, those words have to have like commas around them. So, being to identify, where your subject is in a sentence and where your verb is in a sentence is, pretty key for finding other things out. So there's kind of a trick to figuring out what a subject is, and you just say who or what. You ask a question, and you phrase this question like this: who or what, and then the verb and the rest of the sentence. And so the explanation here is right here. Taking dangerous risks seems to frighten most hardworking people. So what seems to frighten most hardworking people? And the answer to that is taking dangerous risks. So that entire phrase is your subject. Now, normally, like it says here, a subject can be, just a noun that is a person, place, or thing. But where it gets tricky, and it is always the doer of the main verb of the sentence. But where it gets tricky is if it's an idea, a concept, or an activity, which all falls under thing. And taking dangerous risks is actually a verb phrase, but it's an idea. And it's an ing phrase that acts as a subject. This is called a gerund. And that gets tricky because these whole phrases can become, subjects. So you got to, you know, take a, you know, take a look at that and be careful you don't get tripped up there. So there are exercises in this document to help you. And if you want to look at the document first, do them on your own. I highly suggest that, but I'm going to go over the answers right here. So we have some examples. We hear a lot of talk about the American melting pot. Who hears a lot of talk about the American melting pot? We. So that's the subject. Here in our neighborhood, the melting pot exists. What exists? The melting pot. Um, so you'll notice, like for instance, right here we have all these phrases that come before our subject, the melting pot, and if notice there's a comma. And generally, one of the comma rules you'll see later on in some of the content is if you have a bunch of words before the subject matter, sometimes even just one word, you'll generally there needs to be some kind of comma. And same thing if there's words in between melting pot and exist. If there was a bunch of words there, you would probably need a comma too. Um, anyways. So here's another example, like of what I was just saying. But in other neighborhoods, people raise their children to reject their cultures. Who raise their children to reject their cultures? People. And if you'll notice, there's a bunch of words before it, and that is an introductory phrase. It needs a comma after it because it comes before a subject. So that's like, that one little comma can ding you for a point or two. And if you have like 6 or 7 of them, or 10 or 12 of them in an essay, next thing you know, you're going from an A to a B if your essay is otherwise perfect. So you got to look out for these little things. But I just wanted to go over the answers here. The subject here is the newspapers. Here it's the old immigrants. Here it's the new immigrants. Here it's I. Here it's my Italian neighbors. Here it's they. Here it's they and I. Now, one rule is you're never going to have your subject of your sentence in a prepositional phrase. These are prepositions, and it's never going to be in a prepositional phrase. So let's say if I'm trying to figure out what the subject of a sentence is, like, for instance, this one right here where they have you put brackets around prepositional phrases, you could eliminate this part of the sentence and this part of the sentence because they're all prepositional phrases. So that narrows it down to I won the swimming award. And that makes it easy. Well, what was won? The swim, who won the swimming award? I did. So I is your subject. So same thing here. When my name echoed over the PA system, and there should be a comma right here between system and girl. The girl you can eliminate in the wheelchair next to me. The girl grabbed the speaker. All right, so now it's just the girl because we've eliminated all these other things, right? So anyways, that's basically, and then this little quotation sentence, that's your subject. So that's another trick to finding out where the subject is it can't be in a prepositional phrase. So here, obviously, we have I does the verb was, so that's our subject there because we can eliminate all this other stuff. Again, I is the subject that does was ashamed. This is a prepositional phrase, so it can't be in there. We got a new half of a sentence here because a comma and a coordinating conjunction start a new sentence. It combines two complete sentences together to form one complex sentence. All right. So, comma so. So again, we can eliminate this, and it's I limped. So, who limped? I limped, right? Again, the truth here, I here. So it just, that just shows you that you can eliminate these things. All right. And I just want to go over the answers for you. I hope that you do these first so you can see how you come out on this. Sports, they and they, because we have two subjects here because this sentence has two parts. Right? There should be a comma right here. All right? So this is a complete sentence. They make us independent. And this is a complete, I should say a complete clause. Together it's one sentence, but they're complete clauses. So there are two subjects here. They and they. Competition here. If you notice, we have a prepositional phrase or an introductory phrase. Well, technically it's not a preposition, but we have an introductory phrase, and this is not a complete phrase, so it can't have, a subject here because this doesn't make any sense on its own. It's what you call it's what you call a dependent phrase because it depends on other parts of the sentence to be a complete sentence. So if somebody just walked up to you on the street and they're like, when people play sports regularly, you'd be like, what the hell, what is going on? Because one, it's not a complete sentence, and then, random person, right? So in other words, for this to be complete and to make sense, it has to have